Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
We've got 5 fascinating tech stories lined up for you today, and they all paint a picture of intense competition and groundbreaking innovation. First up, we'll cover how OpenAI is now paying its biggest rival, Google, for the cloud power needed in the AI arms race. Then we'll look at Glean, a startup building a private AI search engine that just hit a massive valuation. From there, we'll jump to IBM's ambitious new roadmap for a practical quantum computer before shifting to Uber's partnership to bring fully autonomous robotaxis to London. And finally, we'll wrap up with Boeing's surprisingly massive month as it hits production targets and books a record number of new aircraft orders. You know that old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Well, in the world of artificial intelligence, it seems the new rule is to just put your biggest rival on the payroll. So get this, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, has just made a surprising deal to use Google's cloud services. And yes, that's the same Google whose search empire is directly threatened by ChatGPT. The core of this story is an incredible thirst for power, not political power, but raw computing power. Training and running these massive AI models takes an insane amount of energy and infrastructure. OpenAI is growing so fast, it needs more than just one supplier. Until recently, they were pretty much exclusively tied to their main backer, Microsoft. But this new deal with Google, finalized in May, is part of a bigger strategy to diversify. They've also signed deals with Oracle and Wayve. For Google, this is a tricky win. Their cloud business gets a massive new customer, which is great, but they're now helping to power the very technology that poses the biggest threat to their business in years. It's a delicate balancing act for their CEO, Sundar Pichai, who has to decide how to allocate these precious resources. Ultimately, this strange alliance shows that the AI arms race is so intense, it's rewriting the rules of competition. The need for pure computing power is so great, it can turn even the fiercest rivals into business partners. Now, while OpenAI is buying up computing power from its rivals, another AI company is carving out its own niche by looking inward. We're talking about the gold rush for information that's buried deep inside a company's own servers. Have you ever tried to find that one specific document at work? You know, the one buried in a sea of emails, Slack channels, and Google Drives? It's a universal headache. Well, a startup called Glean is tackling exactly that, and they just got a massive vote of confidence. The company just raised another $150 million in funding, and that new cash injection rocketed its valuation to an incredible $7.2 billion. For context, that's up from $4.6 billion less than a year ago. So what's the secret sauce? Glean acts like a super-powered private search engine for a business. It connects to everything, Microsoft 365, Slack, Salesforce, and uses AI to understand it all. It creates a personalized map of knowledge for every single employee. Glean's CEO, Arvind Jain, says the goal is to bring AI into the fabric of everyday work. And he told CNBC that large companies are, frankly, worried. They're terrified of being left behind. That said, the competition is fierce. You've got giants like Microsoft with its Copilot and, of course, ChatGPT Enterprise. But Jane's argument is that those big models don't know your company's internal secrets. Glean does. He admits Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, they all want to actually come into this space, but he believes they have a head start. So this isn't just about a fancy search bar. It's a high-stakes race to build the AI brain for the modern workplace. And the winner could fundamentally change how we all get our jobs done. So, solving a company's internal search problem is one thing. But what about solving problems so complex it would take your laptop thousands of years to crack? Well, moving from the AI of today to the computing of tomorrow, tech giant IBM just announced they're building a machine to do just that, and they've put a deadline on it. IBM has laid out this super ambitious roadmap to deliver a practical quantum computer by 2029. They've even given it a name, Starling. This machine, which they're building in Poughkeepsie, New York, is slated to have about 200 logical qubits, which is a big deal because that's enough to start showing real advantages over the computers we use today. So what's the hold up been? Well, quantum computers are kind of finicky. Their building blocks, qubits, are incredibly fast, but also make a ton of errors. So much so that most of their power goes into just fixing their own mistakes. But here's the thing. IBM thinks they've cracked the code. Jay Gambetta, the VP leading their quantum initiative, explained they basically flipped their process. Instead of dreaming up a perfect scientific theory and then trying to build a chip for it, they looked at what chips were actually practical to build and then designed the error correction around that. As Gambetta put it, you don't need a miracle now. Now you need a grand challenge in engineering. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. IBM is in a massive race with Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. The company that gets there first could unlock the next stage of computing, and with it, maybe solutions to some of our biggest problems. But while quantum computing is still a few years out, another form of AI is about to hit the streets, literally. We're shifting from the labs of IBM to the busy roads of London, where your next taxi ride might just be driverless. Imagine hailing an Uber in the middle of London, and when it pulls up, there's no one in the driver's seat. Well, that future is arriving sooner than you think. Uber is partnering with a UKA firm called Wayve to start trialing fully autonomous robotaxis in London next spring. And it's a big deal because the government is fast tracking it, aiming to get small driverless services on the road much earlier than planned. The potential upside is huge. The Department for Transport says this industry could create 38 zero jobs and add £42 billion to the UK economy. In Austin, Texas, Uber's robotaxis already work for 20 hours a day, but there's always a flip side. Andy Prendergast from the G&B Union warns we need to think about the significant social implications, like, what happens to all the human drivers? And then there's the safety question. While some data suggests automated cars have fewer accidents, it's not a perfect picture. Services in other countries have seen everything from passengers getting locked inside to a whole service in San Francisco being cancelled after too many malfunctions. That said, a reporter who rode in one of Wayve's cars in London said it was reassuringly uneventful. The car navigated congestion, cyclists, and even a pedestrian on crutches without the human safety driver ever touching the controls. The reporter's take, it was a lot more cautious than a human. So we're looking at this incredible technology that's both promising and a little unnerving. The real question is, when it pulls up to your curb, would you get in? And speaking of safety and public trust, that's a challenge one of America's biggest manufacturers has been facing head on. Moving from the roads to the skies, let's talk about a giant that's been trying to get back on course. After a year filled with some pretty terrifying headlines and serious scrutiny, you might think Boeing would be struggling, but it looks like they just had one of their best months ever. In May, Boeing booked a staggering 303 new aircraft orders. To put that in perspective, that's the sixth highest monthly total in the company's entire history. A huge part of that was a record-setting deal with Qatar Airways for their long-haul jets, a deal announced during President Trump's recent Middle East tour. But the real story here isn't just the sales. It's about production. For the first time in over a year, Boeing hit its target of building 38 of its 737 MAX jets in a single month. Now, this is a huge deal because US regulators at the FAA had capped their production at that number. This came after that scary incident in January 2024 when a panel blew out midair on a nearly new 737 MAX. So hitting this production goal while also meeting all six of the company's safety metrics is a major step toward rebuilding trust. As Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg has said, they need to prove they can consistently and safely build at this rate for several months before they can even ask the FAA to lift that cap. So while they're still trailing their rival Airbus in total deliveries this year, this blockbuster month is a massive confidence boost. It's a sign that they might finally be getting their production and quality control issues sorted out. The question now is, can they keep it up?
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.